The semi-truck glided smoothly along the highway. The rhythmic sound of tires created a lulling effect. Atop the pine trees that lined the route, the glow of the rising sun cast golden reflections. A mysterious smile adorned the lips of Petrovich. The day presented itself beautifully as he journeyed on his assigned task. He cherished his profession as a driver. These early morning hours were particularly special to him, when the road stretched empty before him. Just himself and the highway extending into the distance. Chapter 1. Premonition. The day had been troublesome from its inception. Ivan had engaged in a merciless argument with his wife that morning, with a long haul ahead of him. Nina, as was her custom, had begun pestering him with various trivial matters concerning items they needed to purchase in the near future. Ivan, as usual, lost his patience and raised his voice sharply. His wife responded in kind, following their typical pattern of conflict. Yet something felt distinctly unusual. Petrovich sensed an inexplicable chill when he habitually sent his wife away with harsh words. As if perhaps he shouldn't have done so. Matters only worsened thereafter. At work, he discovered that his regular partner Fyodor had fallen ill, and he was being assigned a young colleague named Nikita for the journey. Ivan Petrovich harbored a dislike for this young man, with his perpetually flirtatious smirk and eagerness to impress the management. However, there was no alternative. The day's requirement was to cover at least 800 kilometers, though the fleet management typically demanded that long-distance drivers complete 1,000. Petrovich couldn't accomplish this alone. Therefore, reluctantly, he had to accept Nikita as his partner. Naturally, he expressed his dissatisfaction to Veremeyev, the fleet manager, who responded, "Don't make a fuss, Petrovich. Fedya is sick. Should I perhaps go with you instead?" "Maybe you should," Ivan retorted heatedly. "This Nikita is like wet behind the ears, as they say. Look at you with your growing belly and double chin. You've forgotten what it's like to go on the road." "That's enough," the manager interjected. "Or I'll reassign you. Change your route. You'll be driving around the city on a 300 km." "Go to hell," Petrovich replied, and once again felt an unpleasant sensation. Especially when Veremeyev told him to get lost. Something viscous suddenly visited Ivan. But there was no time for melancholy. After exchanging some pleasantries with the smirking Nikita, Petrovich started the vehicle and drove beyond the company premises. Nikita settled in the passenger seat, gazing out the window. Something flickered again at the edge of Ivan's subconscious, but he attributed it to his interactions with Nina and Veremeyev and dismissed it. Chapter 2. The Journey. Nikita proved to be more competent than anticipated. As a driver, he was quite skilled. He drove swiftly and conversed incessantly throughout the journey. He regaled Petrovich with countless tales about how Nikita was an expert driver, how women were attracted to him like to Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. "I just keep them in line," he explained to Ivan. He also shared his struggle to find a suitable wife. "But I must understand, she has to be the very best," the young man laughed. "So I am experimenting with various girls." Petrovich listened to the chatter in silence, occasionally inserting a word. He wondered, was I ever such a scatterbrain? It seems Nina and I had our affairs in good order. He didn't vocalize these thoughts, speaking minimally and gently teasing his companion. This only encouraged Nikita to elaborate further on his romantic conquests. During the first day, they covered more than 1,000 kilometers and maintained this pace going forward. Ivan and Nikita slept in the truck as usual, even allowing themselves to stop at rest areas during the night, as they were significantly ahead of schedule. Everything proceeded normally, with no reminder of the initial unfortunate day of the assignment. Chapter 3. Unexpected Turn. Somewhere around the middle of the route, as evening approached, Nikita, now more confident and believing he had established a good rapport with his experienced partner, suddenly proposed. "Petrovich, listen, there's this amazing woman who lives along this road. You won't believe it. I met her when I was traveling through here. She's absolutely incredible. lives alone, has plenty of space. Let us take a proper rest, shall we? Ivan was astonished. Are you crazy? What about our schedule? Eremaev will devour me whole. Especially after I told him off before this trip. Nikita was quick to respond. We already 2 days ahead of schedule. Listen. Let us just spend the evening and night comfortably. She's an excellent cook too. Makes various borscht dishes, potatoes with mushrooms, and dumplings that melt in your mouth. Petrovich, who detested dry provisions and adored flavorful meals, felt an inviting rumble in his stomach. Over these days, Nikita had somewhat studied his partner and accurately deduced that he was unlikely to refuse a delicious dinner. He continued to persuade his experienced colleague. Petrovich, it's not far from here. We'll soon reach the turnoff, then it's just 30 to 40 kilometers more, and we're there. And you'll like Mashka too. She's eager and hospitable, reminiscent of those characters in old Soviet films. Ivan attempted to object, mentioning the deteriorating weather, a gathering storm, the difficulty of navigating forest roads in darkness, the potential presence of malicious individuals, and the valuable cargo they carried. But Nikita dismissed all concerns. Dad, this isn't the 90s when you drove in convoys and feared every bush. He laughed so heartily that Petrovich decided against telling him about his experiences from that era, when they weren't dallying with women but dealing with various criminal elements. Not all of those encounters had ended well, but looking at the smiling Nikita, he didn't want to dampen the young man's spirits. The prospect of consuming a proper meal, something warm and satisfying, coupled with the allure of resting in a comfortable bed rather than the rigid sleeping compartment of the jolting cabin, was too tempting to resist. Fine then, they convinced me, Petrovich conceded, and suddenly an icy sensation coursed through his body. What's happening to me? Am I getting old? What kind of affliction is this? He contemplated, but the thought dissipated at the sight of Nikita performing an unimaginable hybrid of a gypsy dance and an Irish jig behind the wheel of the massive freight vehicle. Yes, 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 the young man shouted, beating an inconceivable rhythm on the steering wheel. Meanwhile, the weather began to deteriorate. In the distance, lightning flashes appeared, and raindrops started to drum persistently on the cabin. Darkness descended, with only the powerful beams of the headlights cutting through the thickening gloom. Petrovich and Nikita continued along the highway, but the younger man grew increasingly impatient. He peered more intently into the distance, anxious not to miss his coveted turn. Several times he scrutinized the connecting roads with great attention, but each time he drove past, muttering to himself, "No, not this one." Finally, he spotted what appeared to be familiar territory ahead, his face illuminated with a radiant smile as Nikita sharply turned the wheel, directing the truck onto a local road. Chapter 4. The Road to the House. Dusk intensified, the road narrowed, and branches began to scrape against the truck's body. God forbid we encounter oncoming traffic, flashed through Petrovich's mind. We'd never be able to pass each other. But they encountered no vehicles coming from the opposite direction. The road's condition worsened progressively. Gradually, the wide smile on Nikita's face began to fade, yielding to genuine confusion. The rain intensified, lightning flashed ominously, and the dense forest stood forebodingly on both sides, emitting eerie sounds. "What's wrong?" Ivan inquired. "Did we take a wrong turn?" Nikita looked guiltily at his partner and nodded affirmatively. "Well, damn, that's just great. Nothing to say," Petrovich grumbled. "For heaven's sake, there's no way for us to turn around here. And we've already driven about 30 kilometers. Now we have no choice but to continue forward until we find a place to turn around. But damn it, Nikita, you're really a blockhead." The young man continued to stare grimly ahead, turning the steering wheel as he navigated the increasingly deteriorating road's twists and turns. "It can't be possible, Petrovich, for a road to lead to nowhere?" Nikita questioned. Surely it must lead somewhere. Ivan remained morose. Let's hope so. After approximately 2 kilometers, the road abruptly ascended. The heavily loaded truck began to skid, unable to overcome the resistance of the viscous soil, which squelched as if swallowing the vehicle whole. After another 50 meters, the truck became completely stuck. Petrovich, cursing, emerged from the warm cabin, while a disheartened Nikita tumbled out from the other side. The rain lashed them like some gigantic film, enshrouding the surrounding trees in a fiery darkness and an almost soul-freezing coldness. So what do we do now? Ivan growled. In the middle of nowhere. God knows if there's anyone around here. Petrovich, Nikita exclaimed, eyes wide. I see some light over there. Shall we go check it out? We can always return to the cabin, but maybe they can tell us where to find a tractor. Ivan looked and indeed saw some light ahead in the direction they had been traveling. It wasn't too far, approximately half a kilometer away. Well, alright, to hell with it. I have a feeling Aramayev is definitely going to reassign me to a KAMAZ with such a partner, Ivan remarked, and the drivers set out. Even in rubber boots, progress was difficult. The mud is thick and greasy like a doormat, horses sinking up to their stirrups. Petrovich recalled his favorite Vysotsky lyrics. But there was nothing to be done, and so they trudged on. After some time, the light took on visible contours. A house! Nikita exclaimed enthusiastically, smiling once again. Who could be living in such a remote area? Petrovich wondered as he knocked on the door. Chapter 5. The house. No one responded. So Nikita took over, pounding on the door with all the strength and vigor of a young man. Just as the partners were about to give up and return to their vehicle, the door suddenly opened. Nikita, disheveled from the process of banging on the door, was simply stunned. Before him stood a charming brunette with a captivating figure, a semblance of a smile playing on her lips. We got lost with our freight truck, got stuck, bogged down in the mud, stammered Nikita, suddenly embarrassed and forgetting all about his romantic exploits, most of which were products of his heated imagination. Hello, please come in, you poor things. We all soaked. Yes, and our mud here is something else. My name is Sasha, the girl cooed sweetly. Nikita, the young driver blurted out, while Ivan Petrovich also introduced himself, albeit somewhat gruffly. Come in, boys, you'll dry off now. I'll feed you. We need to wait out this rain and weather, Sasha chirped. And tomorrow morning, we can go to the village. The forest path is just about 2 kilometers from here, and there you can find a tractor that can pass through the clearing. Yes, indeed, Petrovich affirmed solemnly. And right here in front of your house, there's space to turn around. Once the tractor pulls us out and it dries up a bit, we can turn around here, and going back downhill, the truck will manage. Well, that's excellent. Sasha beamed and glanced very attentively at Nikita. The young man became flustered, blushing slightly, but didn't avert his gaze. Now, please, I'll quickly prepare something. What followed was a delicious dinner, during which Petrovich remained mostly silent, while Nikita, having regained his composure, regaled them with jokes and anecdotes. He prudently omitted any mentions of his romantic conquests under the new circumstances but shared various drivers' tales without the slightest compunction. And remarkably, Sasha listened attentively, smiled, and laughed. She also placed a bottle of vodka on the table, which they quickly consumed, followed by a second one. She herself didn't sing, but laughed melodiously and gazed at Nikita with increasing intensity. Soon her hand found its way into the young man's, and he, forgetting his tales of Casanova-like conquests, pressed closer to her. The lamplight cast dancing shadows across their faces, heightening the intimacy of the moment. After a while, Petrovich felt an unpleasant drowsiness, but something wasn't right. Something cold, akin to a dagger, resided in his chest. It reminded him of his childhood, when he was bitten by the neighbor's rabid dog in the village. Back then, they gave him 40 injections in his stomach, but he hadn't been afraid. Instead, He had felt uneasy on the morning of that day, sensing something amiss, though the encounter with the rabid animal was still hours away. The memory was still vivid. The dog's foam-flecked jaws, the burning pain of the bite, the series of painful injections that followed. And now he anticipated something similar, though what troubled him remained unclear. Perhaps it was the way the light bulbs flickered, which could be attributed to the storm, or maybe it was the strange quality of the girl's smile. Petrovich recalled that since his school days, he never understood what people found in the Mona Lisa's smile, supposedly enigmatic. To him, Sasha's smile seemed artificial and forced. He knew of practically only that one painting, having discussed it in class once, and he had wanted to express his thoughts about this symbol of beauty. But he had held back then, intimidated by the teacher's enthusiasm and the reverent tones of his classmates, and now Sasha's smile struck him as even more strained, hypocritical, and somehow predatory. In his childhood, there was a cartoon where Vovka, a poor student with a country of unlearned lessons, encountered a cow he mistakenly called carnivorous. This predatory cow chased him, and no matter how the poor Vovka tried to reason with it, it would say, "No way, I am carnivorous," while licking its lips hungrily. For a moment, Petrovich imagined that the sight of Sasha sweetly licking her lips belonged to this same category. "I must be getting old," thought the driver as he downed another glass of vodka, chasing it with a crisp cucumber. The vodka burned pleasantly down his throat, momentarily dispelling the chill that had settled in his bones. Meanwhile, the romantic relationship between Sasha and Nikita took increasingly clear shape as the night deepened. Their whispers grew more intimate, their bodies closer. The second bottle of vodka appeared from somewhere and was quickly emptied between shared glances and lingering touches. The storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows with renewed fury, as if nature itself were responding to the mounting tension within the house. When Petrovich retired to the gloomy bedroom, with its musty sheets and creaking floorboards, the young couple went to another. Through the thin walls, he could hear their soft laughter and whispers. "Well, youth will be youth," Ivan thought as he drifted off, pulling the scratchy blanket up to his chin. If not with Masha, then with Sasha. With that final thought, he promptly began to snore as usual. Chapter 6, The Night Terror. Ivan slept poorly. He dreamed of nonsensical things. The wind howled terribly. Streams of rain drummed against the window like the tentacles of some invisible creature. The old house creaked and groaned under the storm's assault, its timbers protesting with sounds like muffled cries. Through his fitful sleep, he heard Nikita and Sasha's moans, some rustling, and other such noises. But Petrovich would merely turn onto his other side and fall back asleep, the alcohol in his system ensuring he never fully woke. Suddenly, after some time, he awoke again from a piercing, painful sensation, as if an ice dagger had passed through him, causing an unimaginable shudder. Everything appeared the same. Whimsical shadows danced across the ceiling, but something in the house's atmosphere had irrevocably changed. Once, his wife had dragged Ivan to a horror film, but it hadn't impressed him, and he had promptly fallen asleep there too. She had later chattered about the atmosphere of horror, while he dismissively waved her off. But now he felt it, a suffocating atmosphere hanging in the air. Goosebumps ran over Ivan's body. He sensed something so strange, as if from an innocuous closet, something would pounce on him, something he couldn't handle. Ivan carefully lowered his feet from the bed. Strange sounds were coming from somewhere. What kind of devilry is this? He thought. I'd better go check. He slowly left the room. The sounds came from the room where Nikita and Sasha had retired, and Petrovich gradually approached the door, though for some reason, he very much didn't want to. He cracked it open. What he saw there was horrifying beyond imagination, a nightmarish spectacle. On the bed where the girl and boy had been, there now writhed a soft mass with repulsive tentacles, covered in slime and some other dreadful, foul-smelling substance. In it, one could discern certain features of Nikita. His suffering grimace, and an expression of aesthetic ecstasy on what had previously been Sasha's face. Everything inside Ivan trembled with wild terror. He tried to back away, but suddenly one tentacle rose toward the opening and whispered something. Petrovich remembered nothing after that. Chapter 7. The Road Home. In the morning, Ivan woke with a splitting headache. How much did I drink last night? He wondered. And what time is it now? Already 12 o'clock. Imagine that. But what about the highway patrol on the route? At this thought, Petrovich broke into a cold sweat. He remembered what he had envisioned the night before. Thoughts about the dreaded traffic police immediately fled his mind. The nightmare had been so vivid that Ivan anxiously glanced around, searching for some kind of weapon. Unfortunately, nothing suitable was available. The man left the room. Coming downstairs, Ivan literally bumped nose to nose with Nikita, who was full of life and bubbling with energy. Petrovich, how you slept. Sasha and I have already managed to go to the village for a tractor. We pulled out our beautiful truck. They even turned it around. It's standing right there outside the window. Ivan regarded his partner suspiciously. Nikita's face shone with a radiant smile. Nothing in his appearance betrayed the suffering expression that Petrovich had witnessed in his night terror. But something still prevented Ivan from feeling at ease. Where's Sasha? He asked suspiciously. She stayed in the village, Nikita reported promptly. She has business there. She expects us to visit on our way back. The young man laughed. Absolutely not. Petrovich cut him off sharply. No return visits. We're already behind schedule as it is. Fine then, you unromantic man, Uncle Vanya, so unsentimental. If not with you, then I'll visit her later with someone else. Nikita displayed a wide grin, revealing all 32 teeth. Let me drive, he offered. I barely drank yesterday. I was too busy admiring Sasha, while you were downing one shot after another. The partners climbed into the vehicle, which rumbled to life with familiar ease and pulled away. Within an hour, they had rejoined the main highway. Chapter 8. A Strange Tale. Peculiar emotions overwhelmed Ivan as the day progressed toward evening. Perhaps it was the nightmarish vision that wouldn't leave him in peace, or maybe the hangover syndrome, which he blamed for his deteriorating mood. Nikita, too, was behaving oddly. He no longer regaled Ivan with stories of romantic conquests. As evening approached, he grew increasingly somber and cast strange glances at Ivan. Petrovich also showed no eagerness to initiate conversation, but when they were approximately 20 kilometers from their destination, he finally asked his partner where they would spend the night. Nikita replied that he was familiar with these parts and knew of an isolated spot further along the highway. When darkness had completely fallen, Nikita announced that they were about an hour's drive from the rest area, and that he wanted to share a story with Petrovich, one that Sasha had told him the previous night after they had enjoyed their amorous pleasures. Nikita's expression darkened, and he paused dramatically, as befitting a skilled storyteller, before beginning. Long ago in these regions, strange occurrences began to unfold. People started to vanish as if they had never existed. This happened before the revolution. A high-ranking official from the police department arrived to investigate these incidents. He searched diligently but discovered nothing and eventually departed. Afterward, a local eccentric named Trishka took up the investigation. He was peculiar and wandered about muttering to everyone that an ancient evil had awakened, that people would continue to disappear as they had been, and that only he could stop it, though at the cost of his own life. The townsfolk mocked the poor soul, but people continued to vanish. When the daughter of the local elder disappeared, a girl of unparalleled beauty, everyone frantically searched for her but found nothing. Then Trishka approached the elder and claimed he could locate his daughter, though extracting her from evil's embrace would likely prove impossible. He could, however, show the elder where she was, though probably at the expense of his own life. This blessed fool Trifon also stated that he could seal the entrance to that place where he proposed to travel with the elder, to prevent more people from disappearing from the surrounding areas. The elder considered this and agreed. From that day forward, no one ever saw the elder, his daughter, or blessed Trifon again. Rumors suggested that he had succeeded in sealing the accursed place, sacrificing his life in the process. Nikita concluded his tale and fell silent. Ivan observed the young man attentively, noticing something strange, alien, and uncharacteristic in his appearance. He seemed to have matured instantly, grown severe. The playful sparkle had vanished from the eyes of the previously cheerful fellow. Rather, his countenance had acquired a predatory quality. "Here, SR rest stop," Nikita announced in a hoarse voice. Chapter 9. Road to Nowhere. As midnight approached, Nikita remained contemplative, and Ivan's growing unease maintained its silence. The forest, with its darkness, recalled the previous night, though now an eerie stillness prevailed. Not a single leaf stirred on the trees. Sleep eluded Petrovich entirely, and he glanced sidelong at his partner. A shiver ran through Nikita, and his eyes began to cloud over. Ivan instinctively recoiled and attempted to leap from the cabin. "Where to?" Nikita turned murky eyes toward him and, with robotic indifference, stated, "You shouldn't have turned onto that road yesterday. Perhaps it was the storm's influence, or maybe the time constraints on Trishka's spell, but you destroyed it." Petrovich looked into his face and froze. Staring back at him was something self-aware, nightmarish, and all-penetrating, invincible. Nikita's body began to transform. Repulsive tentacles emerged, which ensnared Ivan and immobilized him. Before him appeared the face of yesterday's Sasha. Then it morphed into the faces of various strangers. All pleaded for mercy, but the abyss overtook and consumed them, one after another. One face struck him as particularly expressive, seeming to convey a message. "This must be Trifon, whose spell we accidentally violated yesterday with Nikita," flashed through Petrovich's mind as his final independent thought. Then a disgusting green slime splashed onto his face. Images of his wife, the perpetually irritable Varamayev, flickered before him, and darkness engulfed him. Drivers of rare midnight vehicles passing by noticed nothing unusual about the truck parked at the rest area. Only occasional shadowy reflections appeared in the pitch darkness. The trees around stood in silence and grief, concealing the terrible secret of what had transpired. The semi-truck glided smoothly along the highway. The rhythmic sound of the wheels created a lulling effect. Golden reflections of the rising sun gilded the tops of the pines lining the road. A mysterious smile played on Ivan Petrovich's lips. The day was beautiful, and he was traveling on assignment. The driver loved his job, cherished these early morning hours when the highway was deserted. Just him and the road stretching into the distance. Even more so, what now occupied the truck's cabin adored consuming souls and transforming through absorbed bodies. Currently, it was content, squinting at the rising sun with slightly myopic eyes that had recently belonged to Ivan Petrovich, ready to purr like a satisfied cat. Ones like Trishka are rare nowadays, almost non-existent. "I will live forever, and my pleasure will endure eternally," it thought. The entity had emerged to hunt, continuing its journey on a road to nowhere, and woe to anyone crossing its path, strewn with innocent victims. Well then, if you watched this video to the end, it clearly held interest for you. I ask that you spend literally just 20 more seconds writing a comment, because your opinion or even a simple emoji is all that's missing for promotion. Who, if not you, will help me with this? I suggest you watch some other videos from those presented, while I rush off to create a new story for you. I shake your hand, bro, and if you a girl, then I hug you tightly.